In today's video, we're going to be doing something a customer requested, and that is a 2-color 3D printed keyring or tag that's going to be attached to keys, and it's going to have some words and a logo. But unfortunately, I cannot show that to you. So we're going to be doing an example rather for the customer, and I thought let's do that with the AM logo instead, just so that we can show you how it works. And we're going to be showing you from start to finish, design to print with our K8 printer. So let's get started. Okay, so we're here at our computer and we're going to start off with our 3D design. Now, if you do not have a 3D drawing program already, I suggest using TinkerCAD. It is absolutely free. You can find it on the internet. And once you've downloaded what you need to onto it, and it's just as simple as going import, and then you go ahead, choose a file, and make sure it's either an STL, an OBJ, or an SVG. That is a pre-required thing that you need in order to start with a logo or any text. But if you do not have a logo from a customer and you cannot convert one, there is also a text tool built into this program so that you can go ahead and do text rather and type the word out. So once you've gone ahead and typed it out, or you've got it as it is, the first thing we need to do is talk about size. So for instance, we have already got a size here, but I wanted to change the size so it's a bit more accommodating to what we are wanting to do. We also don't want it to be too large because again, it is attaching to a set of keys. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard and drag this in so that we can get to an even proportional size. If not, if you let go, it will just make it to whatever proportion you want. So we must make sure that we do it with the Shift held in so we can do our proportional size. So I'm going to take this down to about 100. So there's perfect. That will also leave it about a centimeter tall on that. From here, we need to now talk about our base. So this is the top piece where it's initially going to be changed into a different color. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab this cone that's here, and we're just going to push that up out of the way. From here, we're going to go ahead and get a square or box or any shape that you really want. If it's a circle, then go ahead and click cylinder. So what we need to do is we need to now make this a little bit bigger than the size that we originally chose. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this white square here, that is the thickness, and I want to do this 3 millimeters thick. And the reason for that is I don't want it to be too thick where it's too rigid and it'll snap. At 2.5 to 3 millimeters thick, it still has some flexibility if someone is playing with it. So from there, we could go ahead and we can even round our corners to make this look even better. And then once that's done, we'll make it to the right size. So we go ahead and we can pick our radius here, and you can see how that's turning the corners in. So if you don't want it as aggressive as that, you can make it less. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it slightly curved, just like so. And now that that's done, I'm going to grab my text and bring it back down again. And what you can do is go to this section here and click 3 millimeters, because that should be just above the height of our bottom piece here. And that's the amount we chose here. So if you did 3 mils here or 4 mils, then you needed to make sure you change when you're moving this up and down to that correct amount. So again, you just move that up or down, go ahead, click 3, enter, and now you're directly on your shape. So now what we can do is hold down our right click and move down so that we can see it from above. Or you could go ahead and just click top on the square in the top left corner, or you can click on the different corners to see it from different angles if your mouse isn't going to behave. Or you can hold in your scroll tool or scroll button and move like so. Okay, so what we want to do is go ahead and drag a square or rectangle over your artwork, and what I want to do now is align everything to see if the size is too big or it's just right. So we click on our line here at the top there, shortcut is L, and we're going to go ahead and just click on the circles in the direction we want to align it. So if we do it like that, we find that maybe the height is too much, then you can go ahead and just click on one side here and we can change it, or you can simply just drag it by hand. But I recommend doing it this way, it's a bit more accurate. So we're going to change this to 20, and then again we're going to drag a rectangle over it. As long as it touches, as you can see, as long as it touches, it will select. So you don't have to drag it over the whole thing, you can just select it like so. Go back to align, and we align it back in the middle there, and it is somewhat almost the same distance all the way around, which is acceptable. And that's what we're looking for. Now we have actually got a three-dimensional image that we can print in two colors. But I did say earlier this is going to be a keyring. So we need to make sure that we can actually put an eye or a keyhole for that key ring. So the first thing you can do is either punch a hole in your original base plate that you have so that a key ring can go through, or we can add one to the side. So I'm going to show you both just so that you know what they look like. So the first one I'm going to go and show you is adding a keyring. So we're going to go ahead and grab the tube. Now you can grab the actual torus, but again you're going to have rounded edges and the printer is going to find it difficult to follow that curve. So let's rather go with straight up edges. Or if you're going to design this to the point, you should have a 35 to 40 degree angle, and a printer won't need a support in order to support that angle. So let's go ahead and take our ring there, and we're just going to move in closer. First thing I'm going to do is hold down shift, and we're going to bring it smaller because right now it is too big. And we're going to go over here, and we can just go ahead and just have a look from the very top of this so that we can see a bit better. And we can go ahead and select all of this, and we can align it in the middle because that's what I would like. And now that we've done that, we can go ahead and bring this down so it's the same height, or if not even smaller, something like that. So that looks a bit classy. So that should work, but what we want to do is check the distance from here to here. So we can either just go look at our radius and then we can do the calculation there, or if you're lazy you can go ahead and grab another square and we can just make it smaller until it fits inside our small little hole here. And we can zoom in and have a look and just make it smaller until we fit. If you find that it's snapping to the squares identically and you can't move it in between, the bottom right over here, your snap grid is set to 1mm. You can go ahead and either switch it off, or you can just have it to 0.1 of a mil, which is a bit more tolerable for moving things around to see where it is actually. So we're going to leave it right there, that's just on the edge. Move this out here, and basically we have almost 3 mils of a gap in that keyring area, which I think is more than enough. So delete that image. We're going to go back and select this one. Now we've got a bit of a jagged edge here, so I'm going to smoothen that out by doing our sides. Now that is just to smooth out the sides, or you have it as very rough, like you can see there, almost make like an octagon. So we're just going to go and hit that to full, so we have the smoothest side available. And we can even go ahead and add a slight bit of a bevel to it as well. But keep in mind, if you're adding a bevel there, it will add a bevel at the bottom. So you will need to make sure that you're doing this correctly so that you don't have a uneven surface printing underneath. You want to try and keep it as flat as possible. Now I'm also going to show you something that you don't normally see, and if you're not paying attention you'll have that problem. So we will go back to bevel, and I'm just going to leave it straight because it just makes it simpler. And then as we went underneath here, you can see there is a gap. So you have a few options here. You do not really want to have this gap underneath there, otherwise your printer is not going to be able to stick anything to the bed in that area and you're going to have a failed print. So what we can do is we can make it taller and then cut off at the bottom, so we only have the beveling on top, which is one of the easiest ways to do it. So what we do is we make this 4 mils rather. We're going to pull our tab down so that we're pulling it down, and we just want to move out the way so we can actually see it. So we pull it up. Basically what we want to do is we want 1 mil under our build plate. So we're going to go -1, and that will leave an entire 1 mil of our design underneath the build plate. Now that means it's not going to be cut off, it just means that it's underneath and you're only working with what's on top. But if you go ahead and select this and you export it, it will export that 1 mil that's underneath. So what we want to do is get rid of it completely. So we go ahead and click our square but at the hole, and we're just going to make it as the same size as our keyring, actually a little bit bigger. We're going to go ahead and look from above, just to make sure we're covering it. And then again, what we want to do here is, let's say for instance we make this 5 mil, we're going to move this, click on that, we're going to make it -5 mil, so it's sitting underneath our actual plate, our surface, and as you can see it's sitting completely underneath. So what we want to do now is we can go ahead and just select the red, hold down shift and select the whole object that's underneath, and we can go ahead and group it. Now what that's going to do is it's now going to cut the bottom square and you're going to leave a flat surface, which is exactly what we were looking for. Now the printer is going to print that perfectly flat, and then at the top you're going to have a very nice bevel, something a bit more elegant. And again, our letters, if we zoom in, there's no gap between our letter, so those are directly on top, which is exactly what we want. This is exactly where we want it, it's to the size we want it. So now that this is finished, we can just go ahead and select everything, and you can go ahead and group. So now that is one way to do the keyring part. I'm going to quickly show you the other way, the way that I want to do it, so that it looks a bit more uniform and it's going to be a bit stronger, because sometimes these keys on the side here will break off. Don't worry about that, it just changed color now because it's just finished grouping together finally. So now it's one solid object, it's not in many different pieces. So we can go ahead, and if you want to edit something, you go ahead and just ungroup it, and then you can go ahead and edit it again. So I'm going to delete that ring because that's not the one I wanted. I just wanted to show you other options. Now what we're going to do is we are going to purposely move our objects or artwork over, or we leave it where it is, and I'm just going to make one side longer. And there we have it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select my hole. We can go make it smaller, but I first want to make the sides nice and round like we did earlier. And then we're going to do a 3 mil hole in size, which will be more than enough for a keyring, and we can place it anywhere near the edge where a keyring can fit in. So if you find that this will look fine somewhere around, let's say over here, and then we can always bring this guy back in again. Like so. We just move him over there into the corner, and once you're happy with that, we can go ahead and again select everything, group it, and then you'll see there's a hole cut out there which will be perfect for a keyring. Now I found this to be stronger because it's within the actual main structure, whereas that other keyring that I showed you prior, it can snap off if you're a bit aggressive. Okay, so we've finished our 3D designing process. Now we need to move over to our slicing program and do all the settings there. Now that can be quite a lengthy program to watch, so what we want to do is go over to AM's YouTube channel, search 3D in the tab, and you'll find this video behind me which shows you all the settings from start to finish on how to change it to 2-color printing. So I suggest you go watch that first, come back to where I am now, and you'll know exactly what to do. So what we need to do now first is just import our artwork that we have saved from TinkerCAD or your 3D design program of choice. So now that it's here and it's imported, we can have a look. There it is there, exactly how we designed it in our 3D drawing program. Now what we need to do is, again, I'm going to quickly go through these settings, and if you want to see them, go ahead and look at that full video on YouTube. So I'm going to need to just add myself a support blocker. Go ahead and click anywhere on this. We're going to go ahead and just move it out the way. And once we've done that, I just need to change the size of it, make sure uniform scaling is unticked. We just make it much larger than the actual item, because we need to cover it completely. And we can move that over. That should be fine. Let's go ahead and move that over our object. So now what I'm going to do is just make it smaller so that it's not sticking out all the way. And we snap that to the base. So now we can see we've got somewhat a covering over here, but I need it to be bigger. I need to cover more of the letter. So we just go ahead and keep adjusting that until we are happy that we've covered enough of the letter. And in this case, we've covered a little bit too much. So we'll go ahead and just make that a little bit smaller. Just a smidgen. We go halfway from where it was. We go snap to base. Okay, there we don't have enough. So let's go up again a little bit more. Just enough. Okay, and that looks perfectly fine to me. So now what we need to do is go ahead and make this a cutting mesh item only. And now you can see our block has turned red, which is our first color. Our second color will be blue. So what we can do is go ahead and we're going to just multiply this block. So we've got a second one. The top one will move out the way. And what we're going to do is change that to our second color, which will be the blue one in this case. And now that we've done that, what we're going to do is just go have a look to see if we're on top of our previous object. And that might just take 1 or 2 times to guess, but it looks like it's pretty much spot on. So what we'll do is just zoom out and we can go ahead and just move that over. And it doesn't have to be 100%. As long as it's just covering your artwork. We select both and just move them. Okay, so now that that's done, we can go ahead and do our purge tower. So what we want is our first color being red and our second color being blue, but we have chosen to do white as our base and blue as the top logo. So we must make sure we do that when we are adding our plastic to our printer to add it in the correct sequence. So now that that's done, I'm going to quickly just adjust a few settings. Okay, so now we've done all the settings that we need to. We just need to go ahead. We're going to slice our build plate, quickly have a good preview. And as I can see, I'm pretty happy with that because our first color will be all the way up until the letters. And then we're going to use this purge tower to purge whatever red, that color, red, is left. So it moves over to our next color. So now all we need to do is go ahead, save this to our memory stick, and then we can go straight to our printer, get that ready and start printing. Well, there you go guys, we are completely finished and we have it in 2 colors. As you can see it, our white and blue. Now keep in mind you can have it in any color you want. This is a printer that can do 2 colors, and while you are changing its color, you can even go and swap out to another color. So you can end up having 4 colors at one stage while printing this. So if you're wanting to do something like this, follow these steps that we've done and you'll come out with something very cool like this. I really enjoyed this video. The customer's going to enjoy this one. So again, thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next one.
AI may eventually take over, but what's for certain is that smart machines are already operating all over the world right now. So stay ahead with AM.CO.za. For 11 years, they've been leader in CNC and printing machines like CNC rotors, large format printers, vinyl cutters, laser cutters, plasma cutters, DTF printers, and many more. Visit am.co.za showrooms in Sunny Rock, Joburg, and Montenegro Gardens, Cape Town, or WhatsApp hi to 060 600 6000 for more info. am.co.za. Achievement matters.